Welcome to the Meat Industry Hall of Fame video induction series. I'm Andy Hanasek, Editor-in-Chief of the National Provisioner and Manager of the Meat Industry Hall of Fame. In today's video, we'll be inducting Steve Eaker of Steve's Meat Market in Ellendale, Minnesota. Unfortunately, Steve passed away in 2006, but we had the pleasure and opportunity to speak with a few of his peers in honor of his induction into the Hall.
We were about 20 miles from Steve. We had our own meat market. We were in competition with him, and we competed against him in all the different venues, Minnesota Association of Meat Processors. We'd take our tri-state convention, national conventions. We'd always compete against each other. And he was the sausage, he is a Sausage Hall of Fame person as far as we're concerned. He was one of the best sausage makers in the country and always was interested in everybody else. And him and I would visit on the phone and compare notes, compare how busy we were. And that's unusual for competition that's 15 miles apart. But we always gave each other space. We loved each other. I was a pallbearer for him, and he always was a highly principled.
And always shared.
He always shared everything he knew.
Yeah. He was quite reserved, but the one thing that was opposite of that was his willingness to share information with co-meat friends.
Yeah, and he loved to give seminars, and he was always asked to be included in seminars. So I could always count on Steve to be. One time my smokehouse, I had trouble with the smokehouse. No, he had trouble with his smokehouse, and this is the kind of guy he was. He wasn't. He asked me for help, and he brought all this product over, and we smoked hams or something for him until he got his smokehouse fixed. And so I always felt that him and I could use each other and depend on each other.
Well, first, I'd like to say it's an honor to have the opportunity to do this for the family. So we were a new meat processor in 1997, and somebody encouraged us to go to the Minnesota Meat Convention, which is the tri-state meat convention at that time. And lo and behold, one of the first people I met that I would call a mentor would be Steve Eaker. So that's how this all started. It was kind of ironic. It was our first convention, and I look back, and I think it was actually the year 2000, and everybody wanted to compete in the cured meat competitions. So we had taken several products to the Tri-State Meat Convention. And that year, I remember I won my very first award, and the only one that I won that time. But the first guy that come up and shook my hand was Steve Eaker, which he didn't know who I was. It was my first year there, but I thought, that was very, noble of him, especially after I seen that he had won, I think, 13 awards that year, if I'm not mistaken, and I think Best of Show. And I'm sitting there, and I told my wife, I said, I want to be that guy. And she goes, well, you'll never beat him. I said, I don't need to beat him. I just want to be in the picture with him. And ironically, that afternoon was the social hour before the banquet. I found Steve in the corner, and I just went down, sat down, and started asking him questions. And he answered everything for me. He said that, we need to share and help fellow processors make our industry better. So from that point on, we were pretty good friends. I would call him occasionally. It was still a little intimidating because in my mind, he was one of the greatest sausage makers ever. And I didn't want to, ask too many questions, but then again, every time I called, he answered all of them for me and always had the same response. We need to help everybody to make our industry better. So, and from that point on, year after year, I would bring my little tablet that had questions for Steve in it so that I could ask him, when I got to the show, because it became kind of a yearly tradition for me. He was a mentor, he was a teacher, and he was an innovator, and I think we covered a little bit, but, to be able to help anybody, the way he explained it was, that we want to have everybody in our business be successful. So if I stop at Donovan Akers and Steve Akers plant in Ellendale, I drive down the road to the next one. We want to have a good experience everywhere. So he really pushed to make everybody better. And I think that's probably the one thing that will, resonate with me, because I remember, not only wanting to be like Steve because he was a great sausage maker, but, just how he acted, how he helped people, made us and several other people that he's touched do the same thing for the industry. So I truly believe that that was the difference that he made for everyone. Well, I think the main thing that you would come up with is passion. You could tell that he loved what he did, and it showed. And as I got into and started to win a few more awards and understood everything more and talked with him, it's not just, the flavor profile, it's the texture, it's total and it doesn't matter if we're talking about hams or bacons or sausages. It's completely rounding out your craft and not only understanding flavor profiles, but and he was amazing at that. I could let him try a piece of sausage and he would say, try adding a little bit of this to it, and it always made it better. But truly just how he knew every facet of the business and every facet of sausage making. So when you took a bite of anything that you bought from him, the texture was perfect, the mouthfeel was perfect, the flavor was spot on. And I really think he was an innovator too with the non-meat ingredients, adding the wild rice. So before those early years going to Minnesota, I mean, there wasn't all these flavored sausages and the creations that we have in our grocery stores nowadays. So I really think he was part of that trend. He was such a humble guy. I mean, I know he would be extremely happy, um, but he was so humble and so it's hard to say, but obviously he would be, elated. The one thing I want everybody to know for sure is we know that Steve is looking right down on us right now, and he's very proud of what Rachel and Donovan did to continue that business without him. Them weren't easy shoes to fill. So it's an awesome thing.